Ladies and gents, welcome back. Jordan Peterson was just recently in Ottawa to speak to over 5,000 people at the Ottawa Senators Arena. Now, it almost didn't happen because of so much pushback by local authorities and organizations that don't want him to speak. This is just a thing. Now, a recent turn of events on Joe Rogan's podcast, Jordan Peterson appeared and made an announcement. And here's a bit from the counter signal. Here, talking about that announcement, Jordan Peterson announced on Joe Rogan's podcast that he's launching an alternative consortium to the globalist World Economic Forum, or WEF as it's known for short. Peterson's appearance on Joe Rogan's podcast was released on Saturday. Peterson said the international consortium would be based out of London, and the first meetings will take place in the fall. He didn't reveal the name of the group or anyone who will be involved. We're trying to put together something like an alternative vision for the future, say an alternative to take to that, say an alternative to that kind of apocalyptic narrative that's being put forward, at least implicitly, by organizations like the WEF, Peterson said. Here's they have a link to him and him saying that he's going to be making an announcement about this. Now, he later went on to say that they're going to try to put things in place to make sure that it doesn't, if it becomes a big organization, that it doesn't somehow become another WEF in the future. And that's part of his concerns there. If it does become like a big lobby group in the future, it doesn't end up taking a good idea and turning it for evil or something like that. And that's definitely the forethought in this. Peterson further said the consortium would be based on the questions rather than answers. The question is about getting energy and resources to the most people for the cheapest cost. You don't get to save the planet by making energy prices so expensive that no one poor can afford them. That's off the table, he said. Now, this is in response to he's making accusations to the globalist leaders, these large conglomerates and groups like BlackRock, and of course the World Economic Forum, that are trying to save the planet from a climate catastrophe that has been predicted for a lot of time, for over 100 years, and has never taken place. Also, the catastrophe of overpopulation, which it seems we're actually in store for a population collapse of human beings on this planet. So there's clearly arguments there. They're not willing to have the discussion at all. They'll call you a science denier if you bring it up. But no, he's talking about the fact that the push for saving the climate is actually going to, if you look at it, it's actually going to be detrimental to that cause, and it'll definitely harm the environment because it'll put people into poverty where they'll end up cutting all the forests down to stay warm. Peterson added that the alternative energy sources are encouraged, but not at the expense of the poor. You don't get to impose your utopian vision in the service of your narcissism on the poor. Another question is about figuring out how to prioritize human well-being in harmony with nature, but human-focused and not predicated on the idea that there are too many mouths to feed, and that you're evil if you just think about having children. He said the third question is about how do we arrange systems of governance without a top-down approach like that of the World Economic Forum. Peterson said that the fourth question is how to improve long-term monogamous child-centered families. So, like, getting back to traditions, I kind of like the idea of this. Yet another question focuses on stories. The question that you put forward in your life is what spirit should guide you as you move ahead. Some spirit is going to guide you. That's life. The question is, what is the highest spirit that you could guide you? On Monday, Peterson will speak in Ottawa as part of his Beyond Order, 12 More Rules for Life tour. A bunch of liberal-funded groups tried to cancel his appearance, but the host didn't cave to the outrage mob. So here we are with the thanks to all 36 groups protesting my forthcoming January 30th Ottawa lecture, many funded by Justin Trudeau Liberals. We've been forced to expand seating to accommodate all the extra purchasers of tickets. And that's absolutely what happens. It's kind of that Streisand effect, you know. You famously, Barbara Streisand had her home address, just the home and what it looked like, put on the media. She tried to have it shut down, but because of that, more people learned about where it was that she actually lived. So this is the idea, the Streisand effect, they call it, where they gave so much attention to it that more people learned that actually Jordan Peterson was having an event and bought tickets. And so how did it turn out? Well, we have here Patriot Smoothie, what an awesome name, by the way, on Twitter, was there, and he was making videos about what it looked like in the entrance.
Hey everyone, Patriot Smoothie here. I'm currently at a packed Canadian Tire Center waiting to get in to see Jordan Peterson. I was hearing that there was going to be some massive counter demonstration here, but all I can see are revelers waiting to go and enjoy a good show for this evening with the man of the evening who famously said, "Up yours, woke moralists." We'll see who cancels who. The canceling wasn't a very successful endeavor, as you can see. The lines are column after column, row after row, all waiting to get inside with eager anticipation. And I haven't seen any of the so-called revelers, any of the so-called rebel rousers. They're not here, and I can understand why. It's like a hockey game. So I know there's entrances all around the building. If I run into anything funny and hilarious, I'll laugh at it and make sure that you get to laugh too. But other than that, I'm going to go ahead and enjoy the show. You have a great evening, knowing that free speech won. Have a great night.
So there was no other footage of people showing up. Famously and fun and in a funny vein, Jordan Peterson once said in an interview that if to avoid protesters, what he would do is he would hold his talks early in the morning, and that would make it so people would not even show up because of the fair weather sort of attitude a lot of people that are his distractors have. They wouldn't show up because, you know, drinking maybe took priority the night before. Also, you could show up, well, you could have your events in the middle of January. That's another thing. The middle of the coldest part of winter, and you don't get people showing up. Here's another one from Keean Bexte on Twitter, saying that he's at the Jordan Peterson event, and he decided to talk to some people. There was 36 Trudeau-funded organizations, including mainstream media. Losers like Rachel Gilmore, Unhappy Gilmore, wanted to have the event canceled. Not a single protester showing up, but over 5,000 attendees lined up for the cause. Here's what they had to say.
I think he's very smart. He's got a lot of interesting things to say. I feel like when I listen to him, I learn something new, get a little bit smarter, and I want to support. You know, I believe in freedom of speech, so I'm happy to be here, even though it's kind of a controversial thing. So
the mainstream media, a lot of folks in global news tried to cancel this event. They said that this should not even happen. It shouldn't happen in the Senators' arena. It shouldn't happen in Ottawa. It shouldn't happen in Canada.
Yeah.
And the Ontario College of Psychologists seem to agree. Why do you think they're doing that to Dr. Peterson?
Because if their argument doesn't hold water, they don't want to argue. They're afraid to hear somebody articulate say something counter to what they believe. It doesn't fit their narrative. So they're like, oh, if I don't like it, you're not allowed to like it.
Mm-hmm. They think he's dangerous.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. Spreading ideas, very dangerous. Letting people think for themselves, very dangerous. If we're not all groupthink, they can't control us.
And that's exactly where it stood. So Jordan Peterson, obviously, he's coming forward with ideas, and people are, well, trying to shut it down. And they're not shutting it down by arguing his ideas. Here we are. Because 5,000 people want to hear me speak, because it's a free country, because up yours, woke moralists. National Post posting a weekly news quiz. Why is Jordan Peterson ignoring pleas to stay out of Ottawa? That's why. That's absolutely why. Here we are from True North. Ottawa City Councillor tries to cancel Jordan Peterson event. An Ottawa City Councillor is trying to get the venue to cancel Jordan Peterson's event happening Monday night. Now, Ariel Trossler is not excited at the prospect of coming and discussing with Jordan Peterson why his ideas are not good. She just wants to shut down the ideas themselves. We have here CTV News Canada giving a platform to one of the detractors here, and just note the lack of argumentation for why he shouldn't be able to speak. It's just platitudes and misrepresentations of his ideas. Here we go.
Faye Johnstone is among the people calling for that appearance to be canceled this evening. The executive director of Wisdom to Action joins me now in studio this morning for more on this. Good morning, Faye. Nice to have you in.
Good morning, Annette. Thanks for having me.
So let me ask you this. Why are you of the belief that this appearance should be canceled?
Well, Jordan Peterson has a proven history of being misogynistic, racist, and transphobic. I don't think his views have any place in our city. And we, as a coalition of Ottawa-based organizations, are calling for him to be canceled, for the event to be canceled, for his platform to be removed from the Canadian Tire Centre because it's not a good message for our residents.
There's a petition that's gone around and garnered how many signatures, how much support?
We have 36 organizations from all across Ottawa. That ranges from frontline community and health organizations to organizations like the Ottawa Historical Fencing Society coming together to join this coalition. Yeah.
Calling for this to be canceled because they don't want that kind of rhetoric here in this city. But let me ask you this, as some people may say this and say, well, it's free speech and he has the right to come and he's doing this as a tour, part of his tour to promote a new book. Some people say just because you don't like him, that doesn't mean he shouldn't have the ability to come to this city and speak to the people who want to pay to go and see him.
Correct.
What would your response be to that?
He has every right to hang out in a park with a soapbox and speak to his supporters. It is a very different thing when we're talking about private corporations making money off of those ticket sales, of private corporations that are thereby making money off of his racist, misogynistic, and transphobic views. We are actually using our freedom of expression when we argue that he should not be given this platform. And it's the peak of irony that Jordan Peterson, who talks about being a free speech warrior, creates this whole scandal around himself and then gets mad at people who are leveraging the same rights that he argues he stands for.
Well, it's ironic when somebody argues against, what is it, private enterprise when these people come from the purview that the economy shouldn't exist and private property rights should be dismantled. But let's move on. Here's a shock. Justin Trudeau funds who opposes his critics. This is from the Toronto Sun. Warmington haters trying to cancel Jordan Peterson received federal grants. Trudeau's team has given some of the complainers hefty sums of taxpayer dollars in recent years. While Jordan Peterson is armed with his words, some hoping to shut him down, his event, shut him up, are armed with millions in taxpayer dollars. Scroll down to the part, and of course, links in the description down below. You can read these whole articles. None of this can be ignored, nor can the staggering 7-figure taxpayer-funded war chest that some of the complainers have been handed by Trudeau's team in recent years. And he goes on to list all of these different organizations that are petitioning to get Jordan Peterson's event canceled, which was not canceled. And how much money they received themselves. Now, here's the turnout to the event. So many people, and it went off without a hitch. I guess hold your events in the middle of the winter, and you won't have the violence of the protesters that tend to come to these events to disrupt things. Anyway, I'll leave it at that. Leave a comment in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think of this whole situation. Are you going to hold your events in the middle of winter? Are you going to hold them in the morning so that you don't have people coming and disrupting them? Did you show up to the event? Let me know in the comments down below. How did that work out? And otherwise, we'll see you in the next one. Keep on trucking.